Look, thank you very much, everyone. It's my great pleasure to be here, and thank you to our City, our Square, for organising today's event and inviting the National Trust to speak. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we're meeting, the people of the Kulin Nation, and pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. So the National Trust has been, at the forefront and very, very pleased to be nominating Federation Square to the State Heritage Register, and has prompted many to question what is heritage. At the most fundamental level, heritage is what we inherit from previous generations. Each time we pass through Flinders Street Station or admire the Arts Centre spire or visit the beautiful Domain Parklands, we're benefiting from the legacy that has been left for us. It is therefore incumbent upon us to think carefully about what we are leaving for future generations, and that is what we are talking about when we're talking about registering Federation Square. The purpose of the Victorian Heritage Register is to provide legal protection for those places and objects that are significant to history and development of the state of Victoria. And while the architecture of Federation Square is both loved and by some people loathed, there can be no doubt that in less than 2 decades, it is a place that has come to be highly valued by all Victorians as part of our history, our cultural life and our history. So why do we believe that Federation Square is so significant? The National Trust believes that it's historically and culturally significant as the culmination of a century-long, and it could be 180 years, you never know, search for a public square within our city. It is a place of celebration, entertainment, protest, and in some cases mourning. It's our place. It is aesthetically and architecturally significant and the most awarded project in the history of the Victorian chapter of the Australian Institute of Architects. It's an engineering marvel. It's built on a deck over 12 operating railway lines, and as you can see behind us, it's around us. It's a fantastic place to visit and see. And above all, Federation Square is a place of civic commemoration, conceived as a symbolic tribute to the coming together of the colonies of Australia in 1901, whilst also acknowledging Australia's first people. When imagining Melbourne 100 years from now, it's easy to imagine Federation Square as one of the city's iconic heritage places. Some critics of heritage listing Federation Square argue that it should not be frozen in time and that it should change on with our values and needs. And we agree with that. But we say that change should be managed appropriately. There should be a management plan. Change should take into account the architectural and aesthetic values of Federation Square, which were so carefully considered and realised by its original creators. Change should be undertaken in a holistic way, guided by a master plan which protects the most important aspects of the physical and cultural values of the square. And most importantly, change should take into account the views of the people who Federation Square was created for, the people of Victoria. Without this approach, the values of Fed Square will be eroded, and if we delay a consideration of its heritage significance until some arbitrary time in the future, what we value about Federation Square could be lost. So what's next? As reported in the media, Federation Square is currently covered by an interim protection order, which will be in place until Heritage Victoria finishes assessing our nomination. Once this assessment is complete, Heritage Victoria will make a public recommendation to either include Federation Square in the register, or, as we hope, in the register or not to include it. This recommendation will then be provided to the Heritage Council of Victoria, the final decision maker. Then there's a period of 60 days when there's people are able to write to the Heritage Council in support of the nomination, and we encourage everyone to do that. Regardless of what the Heritage Victoria's recommendation is, we call on everyone who cares about the future of Federation Square to have a say in this process. Whether you're an architect, a heritage enthusiast, or someone who simply visits Federation Square and loves it, every letter or email in support of the nomination strengthens our case that Fed Square is a place of significance for all Victorians. So the National Trust will continue to provide updates and information about the process through social media and on our website. So to finalise and to finish, I'd like to thank you all very much for being here and for supporting Federation Square and for hopefully supporting our nomination for Federation Square. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon.